All right, so welcome everybody, Parashat Qedoshim. Who would like to read? If you would like to read, put your hand up. If you want to annotate on the screen, here's how you do it. Who's my first reader? Amanda. This is a short one, so I'll give you this one and the next one. Go right ahead.
V'daber Hashem el Moshe lemor.
Okay, we've had this over and over again, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. The Lord spoke to Moshe saying,
Daber el kol adat b'nei Israel ve'amarta
Guys,
Elohim Qedoshim tehu ki kadosh ani Hashem Elohim Elohechem.
very good. Daber el kol adat b'nei Yisrael ve'amarta alehem Qedoshim tihiu ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Let's start off super easy. What form of verb is this? Is it a katal, yiktol, imperative?
Katal.
Vekatal.
Vekatal. The vav at the front. What does the vav at the front do?
Make it in the past. Oh, no, the future.
Right. It flips exactly.
Future.
It flips the tense, so it was a katal completed tense. Now it's a vekatal incompleted, which is to say future. And you shall say. There are two forms of vekatal where the stress changes from penultimate to ultimate. Which two are they? This one and one other. The first person common singular I and the second masculine singular you are the two vekatal forms whose stress changes. Usually katal expects the stress to be penultimate. Amarta. And Amanda actually heard you put the penultimate stress here. It just sounds better. It sounds right. But in vekatal, the stress moves to the end in these two forms. Ve'amalta, and you can see with that accent symbol right there, it just confirms that it's a vekatal. And if it were ani, if I were the subject, it would do the same thing. Ve'amalti. And Alehem Kadoshim. What is the meaning of kadosh?
Holy, sacred.
Holy, sacred, set apart for a particular purpose. The parasha that we're reading today is named Qedoshim, and it goes into, might even say, excruciating detail to define what that means to be holy. The thesis of the entire parasha is right here. Qedoshim tihiyu, holy you all shall be, because holy am I. Yod He Vav He Elohechem. And then it goes into a whole bunch of details. What is the root of tihiu?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah, something.
E.
Yud.
Oh, that's to be. Haya.
Right. So we've got tav at the beginning and u at the end, which says you, plural, are the subject. So all we have are two root letters. We know this verb better as haya, he was, but the root technically is hey, yod, yod, but originally it was hey, vav, yod, and it's the same root as God's name. Hey, vav, missing yod at the end. Verbs that have a yod at the end are irregular. The yod often goes missing. It went missing here. It went missing here. We'll do it quite a bit. Very rarely do you get to actually see that original yod. That's pretty good. Who wants to read next? If there are any comments or questions, by all means, stop me. Otherwise, who will be the next reader?
Okay, I'll read then.
Go ahead, Yolanda.
Ish imo ve'aviv tira'u ve'et shavetoat tishmoru ani Adonai Elohechem.
Very good. Ish imo ve'aviv tira'u ve'et shabbatotai tishmoru. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Hey, we just saw this in the preceding verse. Does God think we didn't read it in the last verse? Are we so dense that he feels the need to repeat it over and over again? What's the purpose of repeating it?
So we can get it, we can learn it.
Fair enough. This is the stamp of authority, if you will. I'm telling you to do something. Oh, by the way, I am Yod He Vav He, your God. So whenever you see something like this following a commandment, it's like, I have the authority. I'm Yod He Vav He. It's supposed to be a stark reminder that he is the ultimate authority in our lives.
His signature.
His signature. Let's see. What is the absolute form of this word?
M.
M, of course.
M.
M, that's right. Is it a seglet?
No.
Has anyone seen my seglet video? Okay,
Yes.
it is a seglet.
Oh.
Is a seglet? I don't know whether it's a seglet. I feel like if I say, no matter what I say, I'll be wrong. Okay, so remember that seglets originally have this short vowel and then two letters with shva, and then they ultimately turn into words that have segols. So malk, I'm just going to write it like this, is the original form of what later becomes melech. So both of these segols are artificial. They were inserted in order to make it easier to pronounce the word. But the original form is this, malk. That's why when you add a suffix, it becomes malko. So this right here is Is it a seglet? It's a seglet before it turned into the that we know and love. Is M? Same story. What is the absolute form of this word?
Av.
Yeah.
Av. Av.
Aleph, bet, av. What's the plural of av?
Avot.
Avot. Is it masculine or feminine?
Masculine.
Of course it's masculine. It has natural gender. Fathers are masculine, mothers are feminine. Why are we asking? Well, because it's an irregular, that's all. Why does it have this irregular looking plural on it? Well, what's the root of av? I think I've mentioned it before in a previous lesson.
Two B's, two bets.
Aleph, bet, something.
Bet.
It's not Aleph, bet, because if it were, there would be a dagesh in it like this. See how imo has a dagesh? That lets us know there were two letters mem. Here, there is no dagesh, so it's probably not bet, but rather Aleph, bet, vav, or if it's our father, it shows up as this, Aleph, bet, yod. My guess is that it was originally Aleph, bet, vav and turned into Aleph, bet, yod. We know this root better as Aleph, bet, hey with a vowel hey on the end. That means to be to consent, to be willing. Viv looks so odd in the construct form with a suffix on it because there's your original root letter, yod. This on the end just says his. All right, what's the root of the next verb?
Yud Resh Aleph.
Yud Resh Aleph. Just in case anyone isn't clear, in modern Hebrew we call it Yud, and most textbooks in biblical Hebrew call it Yod. Same thing with Kuf and Kof. So Yud or Yod Resh Aleph. What binyan is it?
Yiktal?
It's got the T, the
Huh?
T.
It is a yiktol. It is a yiktol because of the tav and u. What binyan is it? There are 7 binyanim.
Kar?
Katal. Katal.
Katal is a
Katal.
form. Katal
Oh,
is a
sorry.
form.
I meant call. Call.
Okay, absolutely, yes.
Call.
For anyone who doesn't know, yiktol is going to have a yiktol prefix, and its opposite is katal, which is going to have a katal suffix. So earlier when we saw ve'amarti, no, I'm sorry, ve'amarta, that ta on the end is a katal suffix. Yiktol prefix, tav, this is a yiktol. But as you all said, the binyan is easy. Kal means easy. It's almost like they're rubbing our noses in it. It's so easy. Anyway, it is a kal, and how do we know that? Because of the e vowel right here. Wait, shouldn't this be like a shva or something under the resh?
Doesn't Rush act like a guttural sometimes?
It does. Very good. How would you say you singular will fear or revere? So take off the u, and what is it? You singular is just a tav with no u at the end, right?
Tira.
Tira. Tira. Here's the root, as you all already said, Yod Resh Aleph, to fear or revere. And because of the Aleph, we get an A vowel, in fact, a kamatz A vowel. Do we know any other verbs that have an Aleph at the end? Tons of them. Yikne, or sorry, that's yikne, uh-oh. Yikna. Uh-oh. For some reason, it doesn't sound right to me, so I'm gonna abandon this one. Sorry. I thought it's yikne. Yikne. He will be jealous. Oh, because it's a state of being verb. Anyway, so yivra. What is yivra?
He creates it.
Yeah, first verse in the Bible has this verb. Yivra, he will create. What is yikra?
He will call.
He will call.
He will call.
So tira is perfectly normal. The only thing that's missing is a shva under the yod. And the reason it did that is because Hirik Yod is already a vowel. There's no sense in putting a silent shva at the end of the syllable. Tira, no shva, tira. Here, we would have expected this vowel to drop to a shva. And yes, a resh can get a silent shva. But here it would be audible, right? Tir-u. Tir-u. So then why does it get a kamatz here? There's your answer. It's a pausal form. At the end of a complete thought, the vowel stays, the stress becomes penultimate, and it lets everybody in the audience who's listening to the scroll being read, it lets them know, Here's a comma. Tira'u. Pause. Ve'et shabbatotai. What are shabbatotai? What's the root?
Shabbat.
Wait, so why is there a strong dagesh right there? Is a letter missing?
It's a doubling dagesh.
It sure is. There's a vowel in front, so we know it's a doubling dagesh. The question becomes why? What's the root of
Because it's a,
Shabbat? Go ahead.
I was gonna say because it's a short vowel, but I don't know if that's right.
Let's see. If it didn't have a dagesh, this would just be shav totai. Shav totai. With the doubling dagesh, the vowel split, the consonant splits the syllable right here, and we get shabbatotai. It has a doubling dagesh in it because of the pattern of the word. The pattern of the word is patach, strong dagesh, kamatz. The root is shin bet tav. Shabbat, is it masculine or feminine?
I feel like this is a trick question.
Yeah.
You're catching on very, very well. If the root is shin bet tav, there is no feminine tav or feminine kamatze here. Properly speaking, Shabbat is supposed to be masculine. Are there people who make the mistake and call it feminine? Sure. Does the Bible? Yeah. But there are places where it's masculine too. There are lots of words that have a tav in the root. Well, I don't want to say lots. There are some. Let's see. Tzevet. In modern Hebrew, we write it with two vavs like this. Tzevet is from tzadi vav tav, masculine or feminine. Take a guess.
Masculine.
Masculine. Mm-hmm. Yeah. A tzomet is an intersection. The root is tzadi mem tav, masculine or feminine.
Masculine.
Pretty cool stuff, huh? How about a misharet? Misharet.
Feminine. Oh, no, masculine.
Right, exactly. So the root is shin resh tav, and it means to serve or be of service to somebody. When talking, how do I say this? Does anyone know the word for bathroom in Hebrew?
Routine.
Yeah, exactly. It comes from this root right here. She ru tim. It's masculine. Shin resh tav. A misharet is a one who is serving. There's a song Shalom Aleichem that is sung on Friday nights and sings of the ministering angels of the God Most High. That word for ministering is misharet.
Bótala, pues.
Shalom Aleichem Malachei Hasharet. So Shabbatotai is supposed to be masculine, but you will see it in the Bible sometimes as a feminine. That's okay. That tav throws people for a loop even today. Plenty of people think that tzevet is feminine and tzomet is feminine. Such is life. And then tishmoru, hey, that's the same pausal phenomenon that we saw earlier with tira'u. Except here, the yikto vowel is O. Why is it in pausal form? Because we just finished a complete thought, because there's an etnach, because there's a comma, because there's a pause. All of those are good answers. All right, so how do we keep holy a man? What about a woman? Well, the point is a man and all of mankind, but a man, his mother and father, he shall fear or revere. This is a really interesting, an interesting way to word it, because this is also a command given to men or mankind in their relationship towards God. You fear God. Why? Oh no, God, no, no, no. You revere anything He says. You're right there. You do it. He says jump. You say how high. Well, apparently, it also applies to your earthly parents. This is one of the ways to be holy. Ve'et shabbatotai tishmoru. And my Sabbaths you shall keep or guard. What does it mean to keep or guard God's Sabbaths?
To revere it.
How does one keep or guard God's Sabbaths?
By
keeping it
observing
holy.
it.
By observing it. What was the other answer?
Keeping it holy.
Okay, what does that look like?
Keeping it for God.
So go out and cut the grass and take the wife and kids out to dinner and like that.
Not so much.
Go to
See,
church.
right, yeah, exactly. Go to well, there's something to be said about having a holy convocation on holy days, but remember the commandment is don't work. 6 days do your work, and the seventh day rest. And Shabbat, the root of Shabbat means to cease. It is the thing known for ceasing. I didn't quite finish my complete thought from earlier because we got pulled on the third root letter Tav tangent, but the pattern of Shabbat is the same as the pattern that you use for people and what they're known for doing. Who is a ganav?
Friend or something.
Nation. Nation.
Is it? Well, ganav means to steal. So a
Oh,
ganav
thief.
is a person who is known for stealing, a thief.
Okay.
And a rakav,
One who mounted a road. He
right,
mounted.
exactly. Yeah, a rechev is a chariot, so a rakav is a charioteer, someone who is known for riding in a chariot. So what is Shabbat? It's something known for ceasing. Cease your
Is it also for resting?
right. If you're ceasing from your work, then yes. The translation about resting comes from the root Shabbat. If you're ceasing, then that means you're resting. That sort of a thing.
Okay.
All right. Who's my next reader? Jesse, do you want to read?
Okay.
All right.
Al tifnu el ha'eli velohe masecha lo ta'asu lachem ani Adonai Elohecha. Elohechem.
There it is again. God's signature. Al tifnu el ha'elilim velohe masecha lo ta'asu lachem. Ani Adonai Elohechem. What's the root of tifnu?
Pene. Pene.
Yud.
Penun yod. Pene. To face. Okay. Do not face or turn your face towards ha'elilim, the root being aleph lamed lamed, the same root from which for which we get el, mighty one. Ha'elilim, mighty ones. Well, mighty ones. It's used throughout the Bible for false gods. So you can see here the translation said idols. Why? Because of what's about to come over here. Velohe. What's the root of Elohim, Elohe?
We're going backwards.
This one is Aleph Lamed Hey, consonantal Hey. Not like those vowel Heys that we see like in God's name or in Asa or Pana. Right? These are all vowel Heys because they were actually consonantal yods and the yod went missing. Here, there's a consonantal Hey. Does anyone know the singular form of Elohim?
L.
Eloah.
Mm.
Eloah. So we're taking this Eloah, you add the im to the end, and now you no longer need the furtive patach. And you get, and then of course this has to reduce because it's too far away from the stress, and you get Elohim. But the root is slightly different. Is it related to Aleph Lamed Lamed? Well, that's an argument that could be made, but technically speaking, it's a separate root. In I don't know if it's modern Hebrew or if it's from Arabic. I forget which one it is. That the root Aleph Lamed Hey, consonantal Hey, means worthy of worship. So I don't know. Maybe there's a slight difference here. Maybe they both come from Aleph Lamed mightiness. There's just, I don't think there's much of a way to prove one way or the other. Masecha, means molten. Can anyone help me out with this?
Sukkah.
Oh, sukkah? Like a
That's
like
just what I
Sukkot?
see. The word for booth or temporary shelter.
All right,
Sukkah.
I like that. Only one little problem. This is how you spell Sukkot in the Bible.
Oh.
What's the root of Sukkot? Because of that doubling dagesh there, it's actually
Temporary
samech kaf
dwelling.
kaf. Yes, a temporary dwelling or booth, or some would even call it tabernacle, but I prefer mishkan for tabernacle. That's what the Latin word tabernacle actually means. It's a temporary dwelling, a booth. I don't know about you all, but I sit in a booth when I go to a restaurant, so I don't like booth either. Anyway, it's a temporary dwelling, and it comes from the root schach, which means green vegetation to put on top of a temporary dwelling. Here, you've got a strong dagesh in the samech. What's the root? It's not sechach.
Mm.
Someone almost said it.
Noon
Nun
samach.
nun samech kaf. Very good. Anybody know the root nun samech kaf? Nasach is to pour out. So masecha has to do with pouring out molten metal. It's a god of pouring out molten metal. Or what's the word what's the word I'm looking for? It's not smelting, is it? Smelted gods. Anyway, it's a god that's made out of something that was melted and you poured it out. Lo ta'asu lachem. So gods or mighty ones of pouring molten metal. Lo ta'asu lachem. You shall not do or make lachem for yourselves. Ani Adonai Elohechem. All right, next reader. Tim, would you like to read, or Annie?
Yes.
Annie, you want to? Okay, go ahead.
Vehi tizbah tizbahu zevach shlamim ladonai lirtzonhem tizbahuhu.
Very good. V'chi tizbechu zevach shlamim ladonai lirtzonechem tizbachuhu. All right, so we've got three words that all have the same root. What's the root? What does it mean? What are the three words?
Seva. Oh,
Seva.
Okay, what is Zain Bet Chet? What does it mean?
sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we're not going to dress it up, it means to slaughter. To sacrifice or slaughter. What is the altar next to the tabernacle called?
Mitzbeach.
Mizbeach. Very good. It has a furtive patach here because of the chet, but its root is mizbeach. Or sometimes it'll show up as mizbach when it's in construct, but that's the, let's see, weak dagesh right there, mizbeach. Zevach, is it a segelet?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. It has penultimate stress. 3 letters. It's a noun. Why doesn't it have a segol under the bet? Like melech does? Because of the chet. Yeah. The chet prefers an ah sound. So zevach instead of zeveach. And the same thing shows up in words that have gutturals in the second or third position. Here, it affects both vowels. Ba'al. Here it affects, well, I don't know if I want, well, yeah, I can do that. Here we get rochav. That should have been a segol, but because of the chet, it's an ah. All right. Zevach shlamim. The word shalem means whole, not cut up, not in pieces, whole. But shalom also means peace. So you'll see multiple translations for this in English Bibles. Is it a sacrifice of peace? Or is it sacrifices that are whole and not broken up? Right?
Oh,
So which one is it?
good.
It's either a peace offering or it's a whole burnt offering. All right.
So, can I ask you what how does that differ from the word Allah, the whole burnt offering?
Good. And olah, it has to do with requirement. The olah is required almost any time you come to the tabernacle or the temple. It's a matter of protocol. All right, you want to come to the tabernacle to offer a sin offering? Well, first you offer your olah offering, then you offer your sin offering. A shlamim is not part of that protocol. Would you still offer an olah offering? Yes. But why then, what's the purpose of the shlamim? Well, that's why we get this interpretation that it's a sacrifice to either pray for or show appreciation to God for peace, for being at peace. You have given me peace from my enemies. So then, yeah, what becomes the difference between if we interpret it as whole as opposed to parted up? What's the difference between this and this? That's kind of why I prefer the interpretation that it's peace, a peace offering, rather than just a shalem whole offering. I think it makes more sense.
Agreed. Yeah. Thank you.
Lirtzonchem says, at your own will, tizbachuhu. Who's the yiktol, who's the built-in subject of this yiktol verb? Tizbachuhu.
You.
You who?
You, boy, you. Oh, I don't know.
Tav at the front, u at the end. That's plural masculine, right? Not just singular. Just a tav would be to ms, singular you a man, but here it's plural. Tizbachu or tizbachu, but then there's a hu at the end. Why is there a hu at the end?
Oh, is that like pronoun?
Yeah,
Mm.
that's the object pronoun. That's the pronominal suffix, referring back to what?
Zevach.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be masculine singular, and zevach is masculine singular. So that
How
means
does that happen often? Where it's like a ooh who?
yes. Well, I mean, relatively often, yes. This isn't a one-time event.
I got you.
It does happen quite a bit. What is the root of lirtzonechem?
Ratzon
Ratzon? Close.
or Ratzon.
Ratza, actually, or resh tzadi yod, which we know better as ratza, to
Yes.
want or desire. From this comes the word ratzon, which is the noun, will or desire, and then chem, it's your will or desire. Let's try this. Let's try another one. What is this word?
No, Sion.
Tzion.
Yum.
What's the root?
Tzadi Vav Nun.
Well, over here, ratzon comes from resh tzadi yod. What does tzion
see.
come from?
Tzadi Yod Nun. Yod. Oh.
Yud.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in a modern sense, we've taken this word tzion and built a root out of it, tzadi yod nun. Litzayen means to mark something, to write or put a mark next to it so that it draws your attention to it. Okay, I'm going to mark this page and come back to it. Litzayen. And it comes from the idea of Tzion, the place where God put his mark on this earth. However, the noon is probably a sopformative, just the way it was in the word ratzon, and the root is probably something else.
What did you call it?
This is a
Sopformative?
sopformative. The difference between a suffix and a sopformative is that a suffix is something you can tack on to a standalone word. Approach, approachable. So a bull is a suffix because approach is a word. But tzio is not a word, but rather the pattern on is its pattern. So the noon cannot exist by itself. It is not a suffix, but rather a sopformative. It's the end of a pattern. You can get preformatives too, like in migdal. And the word migdal is the mem a prefix. Yeah, a lot of people say it is, but it's not. It's performative because the pattern includes the mem, the chirik, the shva, and the kamatz. All of this belongs together. So I call it a performative or a sopformative rather than a prefix or suffix. Anyhow, I think we're good here. Any other comments or questions on this verse before we move on? I think the root tzadi yod yod, or could have been originally tzadi vav yod or something like that, has to do with being, it's either defense or invincible or fortified or something like that. So tzion is a noun representing something that is fortified, and that's precisely what the Jebusite city of Salem was. It was a very highly fortified city, or heavily fortified. All right, next reader. Tim, do you want to read?
Thanks, Jared. I have a cold today. I'm going to be better off listening.
Well, I hope you feel better soon. All right.
Thank you.
Let's see. Amanda, would you like to read?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Beyom Tzivchachem Ya Acher Umimaharat ve Vehanotar ad Yom Hashlishi Ba'esh Yesarath.
Very good. All right. Is this a reduced kamatz?
That's a kamatz katan.
No.
Oh.
Under the chet, it's a reduced kamatz.
Okay.
Is it in vowel harmonization with the preceding vowel?
Yes.
Is that a kamatz katan?
Yes.
Okay, so read it again.
Umimoharet.
Umimohorat. Very good. Umimohorat.
I see harmonization.
Mm-hmm. What is this word?
Ochli.
I know my handwriting isn't the best. Oholo,
Oholo.
right? Because it comes from ohel. This O vowel is preserved here. And then this, what should be a shva, takes on the same flavor as this. So I guess I should draw the arrow the other way. That's precisely what's happening here.
Mm.
I'll read through it one time. B'yom zivchachem ye'achel umimochorat v'hanotar ad yom hashlishi ba'esh yisaref. B'yom zivcha. Okay, what is this? Or I should probably mark the whole thing. What kind of a word is this? We know what it means. We talked about the Zayin bet chet root already, how it means sacrifice or offer. But now it has a pronominal suffix attached to it. What kind of a word is this?
It's a
I'm building up to a point. Let me approach it from a different angle. When do we typically see pronominal suffixes on a word?
on nouns.
Nouns.
Most of the time it's on nouns. Can it also show up on verbs? Of course, we saw earlier with that whole tizbachuhu. Yeah, you can get a pronominal suffix on a verb, but this, it's on a noun which represents the action of a verb. It is a nominal verb. What kind of a word is that?
Is it infinitive?
Yes, very good. So infinitives, we learned them as a category all of their own, but infinitives are nouns. They are a noun representing an action. So that's why, to walk or walking, both of these are good translations for it because both of them are acting like a nominal unit. What? To walk is a noun? Yeah. I love. What do I love? To walk, a noun, or I love walking. So this is an infinitive, absolute or construct?
Absolute.
Construct.
If it has a
Absolute.
pronominal suffix on it, it has to be a construct. The absolute form will never take a prefix, like a preposition prefix, or a pronominal suffix. So the infinitive absolute of this verb, what would it be?
So the
Wo.
Zavo.
Voa.
So we have to add this because of the chet, but the infinitive should be a-o zavoach. So there's your absolute form right there. When you go to add a construct, when you go to add a pronominal suffix to it, it's going to be construct. Zivchacha. Wait a second. Is this the word? I have to ask, why isn't this a kamatz katan preserving this O vowel like we learn in, gosh, when do we learn it? When we learn about infinitive. So intermediate, this should be zov chem or something like that. Is it because I'm actually wrong and this is not an infinitive and this is just the word zevach and its original form was zivch?
Can I make a guess?
Go ahead.
It looks like it appears that you're modifying the vowel to convert a noun to a verb, which changes the suffix.
Converting a noun to a verb.
So instead of zebach, zabech, zabuch.
Okay.
I'm guessing.
No, I'm guessing too. There are plenty of examples where a construct, infinitive construct, has a chirik in it, but this would also happen with a noun. Zevach, zivcho is his sacrifice. So is this the chirik of that? Well, let me go check. Let's see. We're in Leviticus 19. Oh no. Let me clear screen for a second and then scroll down. Where are we? All right, let's see what this particular resource says. Oh, it says it's a noun. It says it's a noun. Right there. Noun, masculine. So this would be from the word zevach. All right. So the second option was right. The first option was wrong. It's not an infinitive. So we've got on the day of the sacrifice belonging to you, Yeachel. All right. We know the root Yeachel, the root has to be Aleph Kaf Lamed, to eat. What binyan is Yeachel?
Car.
It can't be Kal. In the Kal, it would be Yochal. It's a very irregular verb.
Pio.
If it
Nifar.
were, let's see, if it were PL, it would have to have a shva there and a dagesh here. That would be PL.
Oh, I knew I was looking at that's all I knew the sound.
Right, exactly. Looks like PL, except there would be a strong dagesh and a patach there.
Okay,
All right, so
I
it's
see.
not kal and it's not PL.
Pual.
Okay,
Nifar.
pual would be either u or o. It depends because of this aleph. Pual doesn't actually, this verbal verbal root doesn't exist in Pual, so this is theoretical. But let me think. Oh, it would be o. Yeokal. That would be your Pual. All right, keep going.
Is it
Nifal.
Okay, if it were Nifal, it should be Ye. Put a dagesh in there. Achel. Right?
Yeah.
Should be that right there. Ye with a dagesh, ye achel. Somebody please stop me. You can't put a dagesh in an aleph. What nonsense is that? You can't do that. So because you can't put the dagesh in the aleph, that's why the preceding vowel will compensate. And it becomes ye achel. It is most certainly a nif'al. And that's why it's translated as a passive tense. It shall be eaten. The same day you offer it, it shall be eaten. Umi mohorat. So mohorat is a noun that means the next day. So this would be like, and from the next day. You can eat it today and you can eat it the next day. And then we get a contrasting statement that simply begins with a vav. And, well, no. If it's contrasting, you should feel some kind of a contrast. So here they say, and if, I might even say, but, hanotar, what is yeter or yoter?
More.
Yoter is more. The word yeter is a noun that means excessive, something excessive or jutting out. Notar, anyone want to take a stab at what kind of a word notar is? Hint, it's the same as this one. We've got a nun of nifal. The root is vav tav resh, which we know better as yod tav resh, but it's a participle. The thing left over or remaining or jutting out. And if the remainder ad yom hashlishi, what's the number shalosh?
3.
8.
What's the masculine form of the number shalosh?
Shlosha.
Shlosha, ironically. Here, this is a ordinal number. It's not a cardinal number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's an ordinal number, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. So if there is remainder until day, the third one, the third day, ba'esh yisaref. Ba'esh has a ba, in the esh, fire. Esh, masculine or feminine?
Feminine.
That's right. It's feminine. Yisaref. What binyan?
Oh. Oh.
Nifa.
So this is the form that we expected over here. Ia with a dagesh. Ia with a dagesh. Here we couldn't do it because of the aleph. Here it's a sin. So we can do it. We're looking for the ia and the dagesh. Wait a second. Yisaref, isn't that masculine? How come it didn't agree with esh, which is feminine? Because esh isn't the subject. What's the subject? What's the subject of to be burned or it shall be burned?
Zevach.
Zevach. And we remember that zevach is 3ms. So we've got our 3ms yod. It shall be burned. How shall it be burned? Ba'esh. So this is just a prepositional phrase that acts like an adverb. How do we do it? To what extent? When do we do it? Why do we do it? Where do we do it? Those are all your adverbial adverbs or adverbial phrases. So this is acting like an adverb. How do I do it? With fire. It's not the subject. Good. Comments or questions before we move on? All right. Who's my next reader? Jesse, I see your hand up. You want to read it?
Okay.
Okay.
Ve'em he'achol ye'achel bayom hashlishi pigul hu lo yeratze.
The cantillation mark on the first word there is a little confusing because it looks like a backwards comma with a dot in it, which makes the vowel almost look like a tzere. It's not. It's just a hear.
Oh,
Ve'im he'achol ye'achel bayom hashlishi pigul hu lo yeratze. So im, if, he'achol. What is this? Just by looking at this, you can probably guess what binyan it is.
Nifa.
Yeah, it's nifal like we saw earlier, but oddly enough, we're getting a cholam vowel here. Does that mean it's not really nifal? It's translated as any. This is entirely useless. Because the root is achal. It has to do with eating. We can't translate it as any. Well, not literally. What kinds of
This,
verbs have an
this
O
is
vowel?
this is a tautological,
That's right. What does that fancy word mean?
the thing itself.
Thing
The
itself. Help me out. Help me out.
it adds
Put it in.
adds
Put it in
emphasis.
crayon eating terms.
Ugh. It adds emphasis.
It adds emphasis. Yeah. This is an infinitive absolute. It's usually your infinitive absolutes that have a holam in it, even if linguistically or historically speaking, the O does not belong. Nevertheless, Hebrew likes to add O vowels whenever it's got an infinitive absolute. It'll even add O vowels to PL verbs for the fun of it. And you're like, why? Doesn't make any sense. Well, because the kal binyan has a holam in its infinitive absolute. So we start seeing this holam showing up in other binyanim as sort of a faux pas error. Because it looks more like an infinitive absolute. Yeah, this is an infinitive absolute. To be eaten, he or it shall be eaten. Well, that's a very clumsy translation. Well, yeah, it's just adding emphasis. Surely, or if indeed it shall be eaten, by Yom Hashlishi, on the day, the third one. Pigul. Here it's translated as abominable. The idea being that this is the opposite of this. Rejected. Pigul, abominable, who it is. There's no explicit verb, so we have to supply it. You can see the translator did. Lo yeratse. What binyan is this?
Nifal.
Also nifal. And there's no dagesh because resh sometimes acts like a guttural and refuses to take a dagesh. Yeratse. So this is coming from resh tzadi yod, ratza, to want. So it shall not be wanted or desired or accepted. So ratza in the kal binyan means something like wanting or desiring. What is ratza in the PL binyan? Yeratse. Has to do with acceptable. It shall be no, that's not the word I'm looking for. Mirutse, satisfied. So in the pu'al, that's usually how it's used in Hebrew today. If I say ani merutse, it means I am satisfied. So yiratse means to satisfy something. Ani merutse, I am satisfied. Now, it's not the satisfied as in, oh, I've eaten a big meal and now I'm satisfied, because Hebrew has another verb for that. It has another root for that. Does anyone remember it? After you've eaten and you are full, I'm
Seva.
satisfied. Very good. Sava. How do you spell it?
Shin bet olive. That's it.
Okay, it's not shin because that would be sheva, the number 7, or making an oath, but rather sin. So savea is the participle that means he is satisfied. Savea. All right. Annie, do you want to read again?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
ואוכליו אבואו ano, ano,
See, you
ano.
actually did it right the first time. Avo.
Avono,
Mhm.
Isha, ki et Kodesh, Adonai, Hillel, ונכרתה הנפש אחיו מעמך.
Very good. Ve'ochalav avono yisa ki et kodesh Adonai chilel v'nichreta hanefesh hahi me'ameha. All right. What kind of a word is this? You see that cholam right there? There's your hint.
Mhm.
Ochel.
Imperative.
The other word,
The
participle.
doing.
Participle. So
Participle.
yeah, exactly. The oe is a participle, which is
And
generally the ing, so eating or one who is eating. So we've got and the one eating belonging to him. So everyone that is eating of him. Him, what does that refer to?
זבח?
Yeah, it's still zevach. It's just there's no it in Hebrew. So it's the one eating of him, the zevach. Avono. Avon is iniquity. Avono, his iniquity. Yisa. What's the root of Yisa?
눈, 눈, 신,
Mhm.
sin, aleph.
Right. Nun sin aleph nasa, to lift, bear, or carry. So he shall bear avono, his iniquity. Ki et kodesh Adonai. Why? Because et, direct object marker. We don't even know what the verb is yet, but this is coming first. The holy thing of the Lord, chilel, he profaned. Why would it put et kodesh Adonai before the verb? Why would Hebrew put one thing in front of another at any time? Emphasis.
To stress it.
To stress it. Emphasis. The kodesh Adonai is really important. The fact that he chilel, profaned it, is less important. I mean, it's still important, but so the holy thing of the Lord he has profaned. What binyan is chilel?
PL.
Of course, P-L. Chirik, Dagesh. It's definitely P-L. V'nichreta. What kind of a word is this? Is there anything we can peel away from this?
The ending,
Okay, what is the ending?
feminine, singular.
Right, 3FS. What about the vav at the front?
Yes.
Either and or possibly a vekatal conversive vav. All right, so what are we left with? Nichrat.
Is it Nifa?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's your noon of nifal. This should be a patach, but it reduced down to a shva. So what's the root?
Karat.
Another root that ends in a tav. What does karat mean?
Cut.
How is it usually used in the Bible?
Oh, cut,
covenant, to make a covenant.
Cutting a covenant, absolutely. So nichrat, he was cut. Nichreta, she was cut. Venichreta, and she will be cut. She? Why she? What's the subject? A nefesh.
Okay.
Nefesh is feminine. It's an irregular feminine. The nefesh is often translated as soul. It would be better to call it being or possibly life, or it probably comes from either throat or breath or thing that breathes, animate object. And later on, it's translated as soul. So living thing shall be cut off. That soul, that living thing, ameha. We can tell that it's feminine because of the ha and because of the 3fs here. And because of the chirik right there, even though the chirik came later. So from her people. Does anybody know? It's kind of funny that they put from his people when there's a ha on the end, clearly feminine. Does anyone want to venture a guess as to why there's a yod here?
Because it's plural.
That's usually the case. Yeah. Does that make sense? Does a person have multiple peoples to which his soul belongs?
No.
Somebody asked about somewhere in a psalm, maybe? No. Gosh, now I can't remember. But anyway, it was, I think, the word creation, and it had a yod in it, his creations. And it didn't make sense to have a yod in it, but it was in pausal form, just like this one is. So I half wonder if the yod is inserted simply because of the pausal form, rather than trying to say that a soul belongs to multiple peoples. But usually that is correct. When there's a yod, it's usually plural. So maybe it's plural here. That just doesn't seem to make sense in the context. Who's next? Amanda, are you next?
Um,
Or did you
I
just read?
no,
Annie just read.
Annie just read.
Jesse, have I skipped you or not?
I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, I think we're back to Amanda, then Jesse, then Annie.
Okay. Okay. Vevakutsarchem et ketzir artsechem lo techala lo techale peat sadeha la lixor velechet ketzircha lo tela I don't know what
Yeah, it's the font is off a little bit. There's the tzere that belongs to the kuf.
telachet.
Telaket. All right. Uvekutzrechem et ketzir artsechem lo techale peat sadcha liktzor veleket ketzircha lo telaket. All right, so in this first part, we've got kuf tzadi resh, kuf tzadi resh. We probably know the word katzir, harvest. Kutzrechem might be, I hesitate to say that it's an infinitive, but because of the word et, I kind of feel like it should be. What do we do with this? Kutzrechem. Is this from the verb liktzor and the infinitive, which we would expect to be Something like kotzrechem with an O vowel is preserving a more original U vowel. Remember, originally in Semitic languages, there were only 3 vowels, U, or rather A, E, and U. From U, we get most of our O's, and from E, we get most of our Es. There is some overlap. Like, for example, there's also a case where A's turn into O's. There's also cases where A's turn into Segol Es. But by and large, our U's turn into O's. So this might be an original U vowel rather than a later O vowel. So we'll call this an infinitive construct. And in the act of reaping that belongs to you all, reaping the harvest of your land. So direct object marker. Lo techale. This verb right here means to finish, to do entirely, to come to an end. Here they call it wholly, completely. And then pe'ah. What are pe'ot? Does anybody know the word pe'ot? I don't have any pe'ot that I'm currently twisting right now, but if anybody has seen...
You were talking about the word that people call peyote.
Yeah. Peyote is
Native American tobacco.
The peyote are the tassels. No, I'm sorry, not tassels. The locks of
curls?
hair, the curls that you'll see on Orthodox Jews. So pe'ah literally means corner, but there's a commandment in the Bible that says, do not cut the corner of your head. And rabbinic tradition says that the corners of your head are, right around here. So that's why the rabbinic interpretation is not to cut the locks of hair that come down right there, and that's why the Orthodox do so. But here we get to see the word.
I'm glad you brought that up. Are you talking about literally like the sideburns?
Yeah, that's I'm saying that's what the rabbinic interpretation is of the commandment that says not to cut the pe'ah or the pe'ot of the head. Now we could have a discussion about what exactly it meant, but the rabbinic tradition says that's what it meant.
I thought it said the corner of the hair, and then I went back and I looked it up, and it said the corner of the beard. So that's why I'm asking you if it's actually the sideburn part, because that would
I stand corrected. It does. It says do not cut the corner of the beard. So is it talking about down here, or is it talking about the corners up here? So anyway, the point is that the more orthodox someone is, the more likely they're going to have those peot. I'm drawing a connection here between the word pe'ah, which has to do with something we recognize, and pe'ah, something related to your field, the corners of your field. Do not completely finish reaping the corners of your field. Techale means come to an end. Liktzor doesn't mean territory, does it? It means to reap, like we saw earlier. So this translation is probably going to get a C- in my opinion, because of how they did not literally translate it. So do not complete the corners of your field to harvest. But at least it's a nice, easy to read translation. Don't wholly reap the corners of your field territory. All right, now they're going to tell us the same thing again in different words. Veleket. All right, does anybody have any idea what a leket is? Well, they tell us it's a gleaning, but look over here. You can see it's the same root. This is a PL verb, which has to do with gathering together. So a leket seems to be something that was supposed to be gathered together. I don't know. They're calling it gleanings. Veleket katzircha, and the things that were supposed to be gathered of your harvest, do not gather. The gleanings, leave them. Why leave them? That's what the next verse is for. The next verse. Jesse, I believe you're next.
Okay. וחרמך לא תעולל ופרד כרמך לא תלקט לעני ולגר תעצוב אותם אני Adonai Elohechem.
There's the signature again. Do these things to be holy. I am Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, your God. Let me read through it. V'charmecha lo te'olel ufer et karmecha lo telaket le'ani ve'lager ta'azov otam. Ani Adonai Elohechem. All right. Kerem. Is that a seglet?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the original form. Come. Your vineyard. Lo te'olel. All right. This is a bit of a menagerie. What can you all tell me about this verb? Hint, it does not mean glean. What binyan is it? What form is it? What root is it? Person, gender, number.
Yiktol.
Okay, yiktol. All right, if it's yiktol, what's person, gender, number?
It's second person masculine singular.
Yeah, you shall not do something. So that's the tav here. All right, what's the root? What's the binyan?
Is it PL?
Absolutely. This is a very strange looking PL. It is so strange looking that most grammar books will give this form its own name and call it polel. All right, so now that you see what they call it, what's the root?
Lamed, lamed's part of the root.
Very good. Lamed, lamed's part of the root. So what's the first root letter?
Ayin?
Ayin, lamed, lamed. Very good. So this is what a PL verb looks like anytime the second and third root letters are the same. I say anytime. As soon as I say anytime, my mind thinks of an exception. Like hallelujah. Right? Hallelu is hey lamed lamed, and it did not follow this pattern. Let's see, what's another one? Sovev, yisovev. Here the root is samech bet bet. And it means he will encompass or surround. Saviv means to go around. So this is a polel as well. There's your first root letter, and your second and third are the same letters. Can you all think of any other roots that have second and third the same letter? Roots that are called geminate roots? Or some grammars call it ein, meaning the second root letter is the same as the third root letter. Yechonen, kaf nun nun, preparing something. Yecholel, which has to do with what? Ending or completing something. Yeshomam, Yeshomim. I think Yeshomim, which has to do with destroying. So in all of these examples, or except for that one, you can see that polel form. All right, so you shall not. So what's the root ein lamed lamed? Back in the story of Abigail and Naval, we're told that Naval is kind of less than perfect in all of his dealings. And his dealings uses this root ein lamed lamed. So it has to do with working and dealing. And so gleaning is not a very good translation here. It's just saying, and your vineyard do not overwork. Okay, what does that mean? Uferet. Now, this is a cool word because it's very commonly used. Well, the root is very commonly used in modern Hebrew. Prat is a detail. Prati is something that belongs to a private individual. So it has to do with individual, like details. Here, uferet, the smallest little detail of karmecha, of your vineyard, lo tilaket. Hey, there's the verb we saw from earlier, gathering. So don't grab each and every little detail from off the ground, meaning like every grape. Why grape? Because we're working on a vineyard. What do you gather from vineyards? Apples? No, grapes. So this is talking about every little detail. Le'ani, to the, or for the, ani, the poor. Velager, who is a ger?
Sojourner.
Sojourner, someone who is from a different country, but they're temporarily in your territory. Well, temporarily or not so temporarily. Ta'azov otam. You shall leave or abandon them. The remainders. Now, prat is masculine singular, but here it's otam, masculine plural. Well, I'm assuming that there's going to be more than one grape left on the ground, and you shall leave them for the poor and the stranger. Why? Ani Adonai Elohechem. Signature. Ani, it's your turn to read.
Yes. לא תגנבו ולא תכחשו ולא תשקרו איש בעמיתו.
Very good. לא תגנובו ולא תכחשו ולא תשקרו איש בעמיתו. Here we get to see that root ganav from earlier, and it's in the yiktol form. Do not, or thou shalt not, steal. Pausal form o. Velo techachashu. All right, we're probably not familiar with that root. It's not terribly common, but we can see it's a yiktol. It's probably going to say the same thing that the first statement said, so it's parallel. So it means something like don't do something bad. Velo teshakru. Ooh, this is a relatively common word. Sheker. If this verb means to lie, then what is the noun sheker?
Deception.
Yeah,
Lie.
exactly. Deceit, lie, deception. Very good. All right, now this is really cool. Who is a shakran?
Liar.
Lehit atzel is to be lazy. Okay, so who is an atzlan?
A
Someone
sluggard.
who is lazy.
Exactly, a sloth, a sluggard, a lazy person. Very good. We saw, no, we're going to see it in a little bit. Not yet. Lerachel. It should have been lerakel, but why it's not, I don't know. Lerachel is the PL verb for gossiping. Who is a rachlan?
Gossiper.
So it's pretty cool how you see this pattern throughout Hebrew. Someone who does something has that pattern. But here it's just a PL verb. Lo tishakru. You shall not be deceptive. Ish ba'amito. A man with his amit. What is an amit? I don't know. What is an amit? It says something like friend of. Yeah?
Am is people, right?
Correct.
Nation.
Correct. Am is a people. However, here there's no strong dagesh. The root of am is ein mem mem. So it looks like maybe the root is ein mem tav or ein mem yod. Let's see if I can find it. Well, here it is. Oh man, we're almost there. Did I pass it? I think I passed it already. There it is. Ba'amito. Well, that doesn't tell me much, does it? Let's see if I can use a different dictionary. It says that an amit. Oh, okay. So it's ein mem tav. Look, it's masculine. So we're seeing another example of a word ending in tav, but still being masculine. A man to his, okay. So not a whole lot to know about it, but all right. All right, are we to verse 19 yet? No. I tell you what, I want to jump forward to verse 19 because of how famous it is. Oh. I feel like I already passed. Oh, nope, here it is. All right, who's my next reader? I think Amanda.
Oh, okay. Lo hikom velo titor et bene amecha va'ahavata lero lera'acha kamocha ani Hashem.
Very good. Lo tikom velo titor et bnei amecha ve'ahavta lerecha kamocha ani Adonai. Here we have a missing nun kuf mem. This is a kal verb, yiktol. You shall not avenge. Velo titor. Got another missing nun. You shall not bear a grudge concerning with the sons or children of your people. And then this part right here. This is probably one of the most famous verses in the Torah because it shows up in the New Testament, quoted by Jesus Yeshua. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. This is a vekatal, and you shall love. This is acting like the direct object marker. There's a whole thing that can be talked about here. Whom shall you love? Re'echa or re'acha. The root here is rea. This is not ra, rea. This is not ra. Ra means bad. Rea means fellow, friend. Crazy that ra is wicked, is evil or bad, but rea is friend or fellow. If anybody knows about consonant shifts, this is a different letter than that one. Ayin used to represent more than one sound. This one is the r sound, and this one is the sound. So two different words, two different roots. But rea is a friend. Cha, your friend, fellow. Kamocha, like you. I have a suspicion, I can't prove it, but I have a suspicion that when Yeshua, Jesus, talks about love your enemies, I wonder if he midrashically got it from this right here. Rea is a friend. Ra is the one that is evil towards you. But you shall love your fellow, or you shall love the one that is evil to you. You shall love your enemy. Can't prove it, but it's a possibility. Ani Adonai, again, the signature. Why should you do this? Because I am the Lord. All right, you ladies are awesome. Thank you so much. We've run out of time. If you want to support Hungry for Hebrew, I would love it. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you next week. Same place, same time. Until then, lehitraot v'shalom. Yes.
What portion will we be on next week?
Right. We're going to study the next, just to be clear, the reading schedule would have us on Bamidbar this week, but since we're falling behind, we're going to be on the next one. After Qedoshim is Emor. Emor is Leviticus 21, I think. 672. I'm just opening it up to double check. Yeah, Leviticus 21, verse 1. That'll be for next week. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we do also have Shavuot coming up. When is Shavuot? It's on Tuesday night, this Tuesday night, so it shouldn't affect us. All right, cool. All right, well then I look forward to seeing you all next week. Shalom, lehitraot.
Later.
Good morning.